Welcome to Left Off the Map. Today we are heading out on the third leg of our Huon Food Crawl. We're going to a little Turkish cafe in Huon called Cinnamon and Cherry. But before we get into that, I'm going to show you a beautiful fresh dish that you can, if you do have access to a garden, this is a good one because we're going to dice some stuff really small to make like a pico de gallo salsa to go with a beef carpaccio. Get some butcher's twine. Take your eye fillet steak out. And I just want to truss this. I only need one. So right through the middle, pull it tight. And once you've got it nice and tight, just twist. And that twisting motion will hold the knot in place while you tie it off. And that'll keep everything nice and tight like that while we're cooking. And all I want to do is get some colour, and a decent amount of colour, on each part of the eye fillet steak. So top and bottom, and then I'm gonna roll around the outside so I get some nice color on everything. So once that gets nice and hot, eye fillet will go in. You only need probably 30 to 45 seconds on either side, and then 10, 15 seconds just rolling it around to color the outside of the steak, and then it's done. Straight into the fridge to rest for about 45 minutes. So to go with our carpaccio, our steak that's now cooling, I'm going to put together a really simple salsa, a very Mexican-inspired salsa. So I need a tomato, which I'm going to de-seed, cut the core of the tomato out. And I'm going to just cut this into quite a small dice. So about 2 or 3 millimeters each way. And sort of the finer you can get this dice, the better, because you've got a piece of eye fillet that is really delicate, it's really light, it's really tender. Going with something with a dice that it's still got a little bit of crunch, but is quite fine, is a really nice combination to go with that. So I'm going to do the same with cucumber. Take a few slices off each side, and then you just do the same thing you did with the tomato. So stack them up, running in one direction for all of your 2 to 3 centimetre battens, and then we'll go back the other way to create our dice. And once we've done our cucumber, I'm going to do the same with a red onion. And it's the normal idea of dicing red onion, but we're just going to make it a lot finer. So really easy to work through the onion. My salsa's done, and you can see I've tried to make that reasonably fine. So we've got probably 2 mil dice there. The tomato could have been a little bit finer, but everything else, the cucumber and the red onion, is probably the size that I want it to be. So it's nice and delicate to go with a very delicate cut. I am going to dress that just simply with some lime juice and some olive oil and a little bit of salt, but then I want another dressing to be able to put on top of the meat and the salsa. So I'm going to make that now. So I've got some creme fraiche, so about a tablespoon to probably 2 tablespoons there of that. Some horseradish, half a teaspoon of horseradish, a pinch of salt. I'm just making a horseradish cream basically. Lemon. I want this to be reasonably acidic and reasonably sharp from the horseradish. We'll give that a taste. Oh, nailed it. My oil in my salsa. I'm not going to put any salt in it yet. I don't want the salt to leach out the moisture from my onions and tomatoes and cucumber and this become all watery. So I just want it to be coated well in oil at this stage. I actually don't think I'm going to put any acid in there at all. I was going to put some lime juice in, but I'm not going to worry about that now. Some coriander. It's just a small amount of coriander. Roll it up into a bowl, and we just want a really sort of fine chiffonade. Pop that in. Now that you can use whatever is your sort of favourite herb could go in there. It doesn't need to be coriander. So I'll check on my steak now, my fillet. See if that's cooled enough for me to carve. It's pretty close. So we're gonna slice that now. You need a decent carving knife because you want the knife to do all the work for you. So you want long movements like that. It's when you're sawing back and forth that you find it really hard to sort of cut a nice neat line. Put it on its side and just run your knife through like this, keeping your hand on top, making sure obviously you're very careful around your hand to get those last few slices out. All right, so we've got our carpaccio done. I want to season that. I'm going to place carpaccio on there. All right, so now a salsa on top. This is going to add freshness, crunch to the dish. So just you want to sort of coat sort of just a light covering of your salsa over the top of the beef. So once you've got that, then some dressing. You just kind of want to drizzle that, a decent coating of your salsa, a decent coating of the beef. Just so that every little piece that you're going to pick up grabs a bit of that salsa, grabs a bit of the dressing, grabs a bit of the beef, and you get the full mouth experience of the fresh, crunchy salsa, the really tender and slightly beefy eye fillet, and that sharp dressing that's nice and creamy, which will carry the flavour a lot better through your mouth and over your palate. That's a fantastic little entree or just a snack to have anytime during summer. It's nice and light, it's refreshing, it's tasty, you feel good after you've eaten it, and it goes well with any drink you can think of. Anything would go well with that. So it's a great summer special to have up your sleeve. From one great summer special to have up your sleeve to a beautiful summer's day down in the Huon, we're going to go and continue our Huon Food Crawl with Francis Bender. We're off to Cinnamon and Cherry. Hello.
Hi, Ande. How are you?
Good to see you, Francis.
You too.
So you two know each other, obviously.
Of course we do.
Because everywhere we go, you know, yeah.
Of course we do.
This is great. And Frances told me a lot about this place. She likes it very, very much. I've only been in here 2 minutes and I like it already.
Oh, thank you.
How good does it all look?
Oh, it's beautiful and all homemade and it's just yummy.
I like the sweets over there too.
Yes, don't look over there.
So we're planning on
now.
getting some hot smoked salmon and a bit of a platter, and we want things to go well with it.
Okay.
So we'll take your advice on that though.
Okay, we just do a variety of mezes each week, I think, to go with what you have in mind.
So what's meze?
Meze is Turkish shared dishes, a bit like Spanish tapas. So
You can just tell by looking at them,
Yes.
one, that they're fresh, but two, they're going to go well with salmon.
Yes,
Can't
yeah,
you?
it
Just by
can.
looking at them.
Yes.
And on the more the carb kind of things, what I can suggest is maybe the Turkish street bread, simit. That's a twisted bread that's dipped in grape molasses and sesame before we cook it. So we got that should go because it gets quite nice and crunchy once you put it in the
Yeah, I
oven
like
for
crunchy. I do
reheating.
crunchy.
Yes. All right.
Well, that
let's
sounds
go
great.
check.
That sounds
Awesome.
absolutely
I'll
fabulous.
just prepare the takeaways
Yes.
and then we'll get the garden bits. And
we're going to have lunch on the shores of the Huon River, further down.
And if you're lucky, you may see a whale or a dolphin.
We
Well,
could.
we've seen
there was
dolphins
dolphin.
recently.
There was a dolphin all the way up to the Huonville
Yeah.
Bridge
Really?
yesterday.
Yeah,
So we've actually had them coming
see
up.
them.
Yeah. And we've had
And
record numbers of
where your
whales
shack
coming
is,
past the Huon.
Yeah. They had a whale as well
Yes,
recently.
right
Yeah.
outside. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, there's record numbers of whales. It's,
Oh.
So if you're lucky.
it's fun.
Yeah.
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 Wonderful. Well, if you want to put that together for us,
All
I'm going
right.
to go and look at the sweets.
Oh.
I'm just going to go and look. Just go and look.
Okay.
What's not a bad place for a picnic?
Gorgeous.
Obviously, I would imagine animal husbandry is a huge part of what you do.
Yes.
Huge part of it. So how do you know you're doing the right thing? What keeps you on track?
We know we're doing the right thing by observing our stock. So we've always referred to it as the Huon method, and it's just farming. So you look after your stock, you keep them safe, you keep them well fed, you keep them clean, and you keep their environment clean. And by doing that, sounds really basic, which is the same that any farmer does for any stock,
Yep.
then you'll get the very best product at the end. You'll get the very best fish. So people are often concerned about our environmental management, and that's something that everybody should be concerned about, where the food's coming from and how it's been farmed, and how the environment's been looked after. But the key thing to remember with any farmers are custodians of their farms, and if they don't look after their farms and manage them environmentally, then they can't get a crop, they can't get stock to grow, they can't get a good product. So that's key to what we do. Because people were concerned and wanted to know and were asking lots of questions, we actually developed what we call our sustainability dashboard, and it was the first of its type for any agro-business in the world when it was launched. Yeah. So it's an interactive dashboard that people can go on and actually look at what's going on in our leases, our temperature, our real time, the feed used, how many people are working.
Spy on your...
They can basically look into our business, and we keep developing that.
Nothing to hide.
Nothing to hide, because there's no point in hiding anything. Yeah. So we actually worked with RSPCA Australia to develop a salmon standard, which they didn't have before, and we were the first farm in Australia to be certified RSPCA. So that to me gives the consumer some sort of comfort that the fish that they're buying has been actually treated humanely, because fish are an animal, and they have feelings and they need to be treated in a certain way. So we have a constant accreditation and audit process that goes on all through the year, all through the different year classes, through every stage of the business, from egg right through to harvest, and we have to meet the criteria that will certify us for RSPCA.
Yeah, and you went looking for that? We
went looking for that. We actually flew out an expert from overseas to do a gap analysis on our company, and then we actually, he went to then visit RSPCA in Canberra, because that's where the head office is, and he talked about, well, why don't you develop a standard for Australia? Yeah. And they did.
Well, let's have a little bit more to eat.
Yes.
And I think we're going somewhere to have dessert.
Yes, because I'm sure we need dessert after this.
There's always room for dessert. I love when you find little gems like that down in small towns like Huon. So cinnamon and cherry, a lot of it was built around Middle Eastern flavours. So I'm going to do a Middle Eastern inspired salad. So the first thing I'll do is you can just cut your watermelon. So you can cut it into the normal little sort of wedges and then sort of into chunks from there. But if you get a whole half like this and you want to be a little bit creative, you don't have a melon baller, if you've got one of these little round teaspoon measures, you can use that just to almost make little melon balls like that. And it just makes your salad a little bit more interesting than the normal chunks that you would cut in watermelon. And if it's not going to take you any extra time and you're going to end up with something a little more interesting, then you might as well do it. So pop those into a bowl. And then I've got my strawberries to go with that. Again, with your strawberries, I mean, most people are just going to cut them in half and leave them like that, which is great. Leave with the green on. This is a savoury salad. The greens in a savoury salad are actually quite nice, the little stems on top. So don't worry about taking them off. If it was a dessert, yes, you probably would. But in a savoury salad, which is a bit hardier, especially with a hearty red meat, you're not going to notice those greens as much, and they do add a nice amount of texture. Okay. mint, which is abundant this time of year in summer. Take your leaf off. Some of the bigger leaves. Lay them down on top of each other, like that. Like so. Then roll it up. So you've got it rolled up like that. Then you just want to cut this way into the vein, so into that middle stem. Once you get there, turn it around, go back the other way. And you've got sort of a really fine shaved mint. I'm going to pop that in as well. And just leave that stem, because that's the bit that's a bit woody. So the little delicate tops are quite nice, they're soft, but those bigger bits, that stem's quite woody, so just work from one side in and then the other side in. Balsamic vinegar. Now there's not much there, so I don't need a lot. Olive oil. Normally you go 3 to 1. 3 parts oil to 1 part vinegar. I am someone who loves more acidic dressings, so I normally go 1 to 1. So 1 part vinegar, 1 part oil. Now, if you've got a mason jar, you can shake this up in a mason jar and you'll emulsify it better or mix together better. But I actually like the little dots that get left from the black balsamic in the oil. So those cool little dots I don't mind. So I don't want it to be completely emulsified where it's sort of just a black or a dark brown dressing. I want those little dots of the vinegar throughout that oil. And that will separate eventually, but you can see that's thickened up already. And that's all I want. So now it's time to basically build your salad. Pop my watermelon over there. Grab a bowl. Give that a little mix. Now I've probably got enough here to serve 2 people. And it is one of those dishes that don't dress it until you're ready to serve it. Because especially with the watermelon, because the watermelon is so delicate, it'll start to, the dressing will start to break the watermelon down and it will become a little bit mushy, slushy because of that. So leave it right to the end to dress it. So now I want my Persian feta, just some dollops on top, so that when you sort of dig into it, you're grabbing some of that creamy feta to go with the dressing. When you start eating it, they all sort of mix together. One more. And then my dressing. And then once it's been dressed, that's when you would take it out and serve it. It's something that, like I said, with lamb is fantastic. Shoulder, backstrap, cut any lamb. Like I said, you could slow cook lamb, but really it's barbecued, fast cooked lamb that's still nice and rosé in the middle. This goes perfectly with it. So give it a try. It is one of those salads, like I said, that's slightly Mediterranean, especially if you put some sumac on there, but it's something different for the end of summer when you've run out of all the normal salads that you would eat. So give it a go, let us know what you think, or if you find another protein that you think it goes well with, let us know on socials.